Hey YouTubes, it's a Tuesday, it's third day, and I'm out in the woods today, going to start a fire. Some of the other saints are working on other projects, and we've got a lot of downed timber here, very old, very dry, and it's just a fire hazard in general. Plus, when you burn a fire and you leave the ashes are good for the soil underneath. So I thought I'd show you what I'm trying to accomplish today. So here is where I'm starting. There's a lot of small dry wood all consolidated in one area with some dried leaves, and yes, there's snow on the ground, so you have to kind of counterbalance that. And it's been a while since I've made a fire like that, so I'm going to try. My first idea is to lay down like a little bed of dry stuff to start my fire on, so that it doesn't just burn right onto the snow. And so that's what I'm doing right here. I'm trying to get some sticks down on the ground, kind of parallel with each other, and I've got plenty of supply here for these kind of things. So I'm going to start laying these down. You see how dry it is? I can break it with one hand. And then when I've got this little bed here, the next thing I'm going to do is lay all this on it. And this is going to be my start of a little teepee. And I'm going to try to catch this log behind on fire and these things as well. So when I put that teepee on here, I'm going to make sure that it touches that log and spans over it and includes these leaves and things that are dry. And so what I'll do is set that up, and then we'll have a video number 2. So here I'm back in part 2. This will be several video series. I did cheat. I brought some paper and stuff to start this fire with, because, you know, I'm not out here mountain manning it. I want to get this fire started, but I also wanted to show you something else that you can do should you find yourself out here like this. This tree in front of me is a cedar, this little one right in front of me. And so what I'm going to do is scrape some of that cedar. The cedar bark is supposed to be a good fire starter, and I'm going to use that as a nest to start my fire with. So as you can see, it peels off pretty easy. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you the results of that in a minute. Okay, so here I am a few minutes later, and I wanted to show you I've made my little teepee, as it's called, and right in the very middle of it, right over there, is some tissue paper, and then right on top of it is a little bit of that shaved cedar bark. I know you probably can't see it, but it's there. And then as I zoom out, you can see that I've stacked a bunch of very dry sticks on there, and they vary in size, and I've got other sticks laying around, as you can tell, that are like pencil size. And so if this starts going, when it starts going, then I'll start feeding the bigger fire or sticks onto it. And I've got my matches and a possibles bag that I carry on me that has like a knife and some gloves and some trimmers for when we're walking around the property and we run into things that like these brambles right here. If you can see them, they're very stickery, and whenever we see them, we cut them down. We've got tons. It has a medicinal property to it, but I don't need 100 acres of it, so we cut that. I'm okay right now. And I prefer matches over a lighter, because in the cold like this, a lot of times the matches work better than the lighter does. The lighter doesn't always want to, the propane doesn't always want to ignite. And so I get my matches in here to my paper and get that lit, and then see if my fire lay is gonna do the trick here. I've got one of these stickers stuck on my shirt. This is one of the hazards of being where we are. They're always there to get in your way. All right, we had some conflagration and now it looks like it's dying down. But the wind has picked up, so that's helping a bit. So we're getting a little bit more flame there on the very, very small dry sticks. And then it looks like the cedar bark's taking right there. And it's starting, and then it's starting some of the smaller twigs, as you see. Yep. Okay, this is what we want. It's time for me to start putting some more of the small twigs on there. Okay, so I had to start it one more time, and I did the same basic thing. I put a bunch of tiny sticks. The first time the fire started, but it didn't catch on enough, and so I made sure I compacted everything in there. And when it gets to this size, a lot of people don't understand how quickly this fire burns and how much fuel it needs to keep going. And so they'll think it's good and they'll walk away from it without feeding it anything else. And you have to get bigger and bigger, because that's what's going to keep your fire sustained, is when it's got to burn through a lot of material. So you need to go to bigger and bigger sticks. But if you walk away from it and don't keep feeding it, fuel is one of the things that a fire has to have. It has to have heat, it has to have air, which is why you make it in a teepee shape so air can get up underneath it, and it has to have fuel and a chemical reaction. And a lot of times if you have water, too much water, that's what kills that chemical reaction, and then your fire won't go. And so what I'm doing while I'm filming with one hand is breaking off the dry sticks that are right here. This is actually a downed limb from somewhere, and I'm feeding this fire with these downed sticks. And anyone who goes camping, excuse me, anyone who goes camping and camps over a campfire will tell you you need a lot of wood. If you're cooking, if you're heating anything up, if you're trying to keep yourself warm. And so don't underestimate that if you go out in the woods. Make sure you have a big old pile. And when I say big, I mean 2, 3, 4 feet, 6 feet of piles of wood of different sizes. So if you need to start your fire, you have little teeny tiny twigs like this size over here, all the way up to the logs that if you look on the back side of the fire, that log's going to catch when this fire moves that way. You need to have all those lengths so that you can treat your fire and not have to keep running back and forth, back and forth. All right, YouTubes, that's it for right now. I'm going to get this thing going, and then maybe later we'll do one more little video of how big it gets over time, because my aim is to burn everything in this area. Hope you're having a great day. Shalom. All right, YouTube, here is the result of our little teeny tiny fire. I have picked up a lot of the broken logs that were in the immediate vicinity. This guy here is too big for me to move. It's a pretty long guy. If you see it, it goes all the way back that way. So I'm not putting that on the fire. I don't want to spend all day waiting for that to burn down, and I can't break it off. But this, I've been able to clear out a lot of this area around the fire, and to include putting in some of those nasty briars. And it's a goal for this winter for us to do this all around the property, to kind of get it cleared out just a bit and to improve the soil underneath it. So I can warm my hands while I'm waiting for this fire to burn down, and hopefully you're staying warm too. Hopefully this really bad weather for this winter is getting to be over. It is mid-February, and right around this corner is planting season. Blessings to you. Shalom. Okay, YouTubes, here is our fire. Started with that little teeny bit of stuff. I've cleared out a lot of the downed wood in the area, and I've gotten to some of the bigger logs. And the log that we set the fire up on definitely is now burning. And so I will have to take the end of it, which is sticking out that way, over there. I will have to take that and push it back into the main part of the fire here. And you'll see there's a big log, there's a big log, and there's a big log crosswise. And they came from a fallen tree over here on the ground. The main branch of it is right there. And then there are still some pieces out there that I'm going to pick up and drag over. Now, something else I wanted you to know is that at this point, it doesn't matter if you throw something on that fire that's wet. Like this little stick right down here has some moisture on the end of it. The fire is strong enough that it's going to burn that right up. It's not going to slow it down. Now, if you threw tons of snow on it, would it go out? Sure. But at this point, it's hot enough to burn, like these bits of log that are laying on the ground and have part of them in the snow right here. I will go ahead and put that on the fire anyway, because it will burn that. And at this point too, you could be cooking food in here. You could be putting potatoes over on this side where you've got some coals. They're turning gray. And you could have a pot right in the middle over here where the flames are, and you could be boiling water and so forth. So this will be the last look at this fire. I'm going to let it burn all the way out. If you notice around the edges of it, there is snow. So once the fuel is all burned up, it's not going to catch and burn outward from here. That snow will extinguish it eventually. All right, take care, YouTubes. Shalom. All right, so here's Brother Joe going to demonstrate one of the uses for these kind of fires. He's been out working with logs all day. Brought his corn cob pipe, and you can use that fire to start a corn cob pipe as well as cook. So how's it going, Brother Joe?
You know, it's going. Using hand tools is more tiring and slower than using power tools, so that's kind of where we're at.
But so far.
But other than that, you know, it's so far so good.
Shalom.